Hi, aren't you curious to know whether Velasco would be able to save Luis Rengifo? Okay, I don't know why I did this absurd thing. Knowing I couldn't move forward, I put the oar in the water as though trying to prevent the raft from moving, trying to anchor it in place. Rengifo, exhausted, paused a moment, then raised his arm as he had when he held his headphones aloft and shouted again, "Fatso, row over here." Okay, who is the I here? Someone says, I don't know why I did this absurd thing. Who is the person who did some absurd thing, foolish thing? Yes, our Velasco, the narrator of the story, the young sailor who is now seated in the raft. Okay, he would like to save Luis Rengifo. Luis Rengifo was swimming calmly towards the raft. So, what happened here? Velasco did a foolish thing. He even doesn't know why he did that. He knew he couldn't move forward, but still he put the oar in the water. He knew that he couldn't move forward, but still he put the oar in the water, as though trying to prevent the raft from moving. And he was trying to anchor it in place. Anchor means fasten. Tie it in a place. To prevent the raft from moving, he put the oar in the water. That was a foolish thing. It was not at all a wise decision to put the oar in the water. At the same moment, what was happening to Rengifo? He was exhausted. Exhausted means extremely tired. He paused a moment. He too stopped for a moment. Then he raised his arm as he had when he held his headphones aloft up in the air. And he shouted again, "Fatso, you row over here. You should move the raft towards Rengifo." Who is this you here? Velasco. So, meanwhile, Velasco did something absurd. Yes, he put the oar in the water. And the wind was blowing from whose direction? Luis Rengifo's direction. So, it's so difficult to row a boat against the wind. The raft or the boat can move easily in the same direction of the wind. But here, the wind was blowing in the opposite direction. So, this Rengifo was trying to move towards the raft, swim towards the raft, but the wind was blowing from his direction. That means against the direction of the raft. So, Velasco yelled out, cried out, shouted that he couldn't row against the wind, that he should make another try. Our Luis Rengifo should make another try of swimming towards the raft. Why did he advise him so? Because he couldn't move his raft against the wind, and he did the absurd foolish thing that he put the oar in the water as though he tried to stop the raft. Something tragic was there, even though he shouted out to Rengifo. What was it? Rengifo couldn't hear it, it seems. Okay. The crates of cargo had disappeared, and the life raft danced from side to side. The life raft was battered by the waves, hit by the waves. There was wind, In a moment, in an instant, Velasco was 5 meters away from Rengifo, and he had lost sight of him. But there was again a hope. He appeared in another spot, and his face showed that he was not panicking. He was not yet nervous, afraid. He was ducking underwater. He was moving with difficulty, though he was trying to prevent the waves from sweeping him away, carrying him away. He was still swimming. It was some sort of ducking. Moving with difficulty underwater. He was careful enough to prevent the waves from sweeping, carrying him away. And our Velasco stood up. Okay, he held out the oar, hoping that Rengifo could get close enough to reach it. But then he could see our Rengifo was tiring, losing heart. He was fully almost exhausted. He called out to Velasco again. He was singing. He was drowning. He called out again, Fatso, Fatso. Velasco, what did he do? He tried to row, but it was as hopeless as the first time. Wind was against him, so he couldn't row. He made a last try so that Rengifo could reach the oar. But the raised hand of Rengifo, with his right hand carrying the headphone, the raised hand, which a few minutes earlier had been trying to keep the headphones from singing, sank forever. Yes, he sank forever. He was drowned. Only less than 2 meters from the oar. Our Velasco had stretched out the oar for Rengifo to reach it. But even though only 2 meters away from the oar, Luis Rengifo, who was fully exhausted, tired, he couldn't swim any further. He sank forever. So that was the doom of Luis Rengifo. So was Velasco able to save any one of his shipmates? No. There were 4 shipmates. You remember? Do you remember their name? Yes. Castello, Caravello, Ramon Herrera, Luis Rengifo. What is going to be the predicament of the fate of our Velasco. That we will see in the next session. Alright? Thank you.